Okay, so last time we ended here, and I said that we were going to submit our model and kind of see where we fall. It's kind of a weird way you have to do it. You got to do it with like a Python script, so it's kind of annoying. So basically what I had to do is reproduce all of this in Python and then submit it through that. I'm not really going to show how to do that. There's little walkthroughs on Kaggle.com if you want to do that. So right now we are in 846th place out of a little over 1,000, which isn't very good, but it's kind of to be expected with the minimal work we did with our first model, right? So our competition RMSE was 0.493, and I think our RMSE for our model that we did in R was like something like 0.40. So that basically means that our model doesn't really generalize well for data that it hasn't seen yet. So now today we're going to go through and try to make some improvements. The first thing we're probably going to change is this one hot encoding of the game rule set name and agent 1 and 2. Because right now it's giving us a ton of variables that is going to promote overfitting, which is not what we want. So we're going to try and remove some variables to kind of more generalize things. So right now we've got over 2,000 variables for our model to train on, which is a lot, as I said before. And a lot of them are just like very, very specific, while they're one hot encoded values for each one of the game types and agent 1 and 2. So what we do is we're going to use a package called string R. We're going to break up some of the agent names to kind of make the one hot encoding not give us a ridiculous amount of variables. To get started, I just want to see like what are the unique names in agent 1 anyways, like what do they look like? So I'm going to do unique df agent 1. And we'll just do like the first 10. So it's, I've already looked at this, so I kind of know, but like MCTS is going to be before every single agent name. And then there's going to be something in here between dashes, a number in here between dashes, and then it's going to be either like, and then it'll be something like masked false or masked true or NST true, NST false. Something like that. So up here towards the top of our script, we read in our data, we're checking the structure, we're changing it to numeric, we're grabbing only uniform variables. And then before we do our one hot encoding, let's change our agent 1 column into, let's break it up into pieces. So it'll be like, you know, we want to grab this chunk here, this number chunk here, and this third chunk here. So then we'll have 3 chunks. And then we're going to one hot encode those instead of each individual agent name because that just gets ridiculous. So to grab that, I'm just saying first part is equal to string match. I guess we do all, string match all. The string is going to be numeric filt agent 1. The pattern is going to be, so we're going to have a dash, and then we want to grab everything until another dash. Let's see if that works. And then this returns kind of a weird object, so we're just going to grab the second column of that. Let's see what it does. Let's try just our match, string match instead of string match all, and see what it does now. If I add this back, boom, boom. So that works now. So it's a gigantic character. Let's just see what it is. The first 10 of them. And that actually worked. So it's grabbing this first part here. So like it's grabbing progressive history and all of these, which is good. And then, you know, that'll change depending on what the first part is. So if I do like, let's check the like 5,000th one. Oh, well, that doesn't do anything different. What about the 10,000th one? So the 10,000th one, the first part is this UCB1 grave. So it's just, these are just different parts of the game type that we're grabbing out of there. So now for the second part, I'm just going to copy this, paste it here, and same thing for the third part. Well, we'll delete that for now. We won't do the third part yet. So this is the second part. And if I come back here and look at our name, so we've got a dash and then some stuff, and then another dash, and then the number we want. So we're going to modify our pattern here. So we're going to go get rid of the parentheses. The parentheses is telling us like what we want. So we're doing dash everything until a dash. Maybe we'll leave a question mark in there for now. Be greedy. Then we want this again until another dash. So let's see if that works. Second pattern or second part. That worked as well. Good. So again, why don't we check the 10,000th one just to see if it's different. And it is. It's a different number. So it is grabbing the part for all of them. Now we want to do the same thing, but for the third part. And we're doing the same thing. Let's get rid of the parentheses here. I think actually we don't need the question mark here. We just want everything else. Let's see what that does. All right, good. So that's grabbing the last part of the phrase. So we're grabbing this first part of the phrase, the second part of the phrase, and this third part of the phrase. So what we want to do is have those for agent 1 and agent 2. So I guess this would be like A1. Add A1 to all of these, and then we'll copy and paste this, change these to A2, and then instead of agent 1, we're using agent 2. Now, instead of like doing df numeric filt and then doing first part, like creating new columns like this, I'm just going to add that into up here. So I'm just going to say df numeric filt and then the $sign. So that's going to say I'm creating this new column, which is first part A1, and it's just, the result of this. So I'll just add this to all of these. So this is just adding the columns onto our data frame numeric filtered. So if I run all this up to this point, let me get rid of everything real quick in the global environment. If I run all this up to this point, so here I just ran names of df numeric filtered. And so this is just giving us all the variable names that we have. And so now we down at the very end of them here, we see that we have our first part agent 1, first part A1, or second part A1, third part A1, and then the same things for agent 2. So now what we're going to do is actually get rid of agent 1 and agent 2, those columns, because we don't need them anymore. We just broke them into separate chunks. So I can see from this that is the third and the fourth column name. So what I'm going to do is just do df numeric filt is equal to df numeric filt minus and then a comma because we're just doing the columns, and then we're doing minus c because we're doing more than one, and then we do 3 and 4. So let's check out the game rule set name again. You know what? Let's just remove it for now. So we're not going to do one hot encoding of game rule set name. We're actually just going to get rid of it. All right. So now we have 628 variables, which is way, way less. And we're about to have even less here when we remove the ones that we don't want. Got an error because agent 1 and 2 don't exist anymore. So I'm just going to remove those. So I'll run that again. Boom. So df one hot filtered now has 621 variables, down from 2,000. We removed a lot of stuff. We'll see if it affects it in a positive or negative way, and we'll go from there. So actually, let's just create our model right now with what we have, and we'll check the RMSE value and see what happens if we made any improvements. I don't know if we'll see much right now, but we'll check. I'm getting this error here, which says that my data has a character class in it, so I got to find that and remove it. So what I forgot to do is remove our first part A1, second part A1, third part A1, and same for the A2. We one hot encoded them, but I forgot to remove the old variables. So let's go back and do that. Just going to add them to this list of names that we're removing here. All right, so let's run this again. Okay, so our root mean square error for this model is 0.33, where our other one was like 0.41, 0.40-ish. So this is like way better, but this could also just mean we're like overtraining the heck out of our model. But in any case, we drop that RMSE way down for the training data and testing data. So an important point to point out is that we are still using this just generic XGBoosted model with the hyperparameters I just made up. So for example, we're using 100 rounds with a max depth of 6. And that's it. That's really the only thing we're doing. And what we want to do, like to really optimize this, is something called like a grid search and cross validation. So cross validation is just a good way to like really make sure that your results are consistent across lots of data that your model hasn't seen. So like right now our RMSE is like 0.33. So cross validation would run this on like different sets of testing data. And then it would average those RMSEs, and we get like, okay, so yeah, the RMSE average was like 0.35 for our model because we cross validated it on a bunch of other testing data. And a grid search is where we're going to set some hyperparameters. So let's say instead of like 100 rounds here, we have set in our grid search, we want it to try like 25 rounds, 50 rounds, 75 rounds, 100 rounds. And we also set it to say, instead of just trying the max depth of 6, why don't we try the max depth of like 2, 5, 6, 10, you know? And it'll create models for everything we set the grid search for, and it will cross-validate all of those, and then we'll really be able to narrow down on what the best hyperparameters are for our model to give us the best performance. And so that process isn't super complex to set up with code, and that's what we're going to do next time. But when you run that code, it does take some time. So if you don't have like a super powerful computer, maybe just like, I don't know, run it overnight, and you'll wake up and you'll see that it's your computer figured out the best parameters for you. I mean, it's not going to take, it doesn't take 8 hours. It can, depending on what you do, but you know, it should take a while. But it really helps out. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we also need to do feature selection, which is what we're going to do before our cross validation and hyperparameter tuning. And why do we want to do that before? Because the important features typically stand out pretty strong. So we don't really need to do the other steps. We can kind of just pick them out right away. So right now we still have 600 features about. And I think what we would want to do is probably narrow that down to under 100. Like a lot of them aren't even being used, right? A lot of them have zero importance to the model whatsoever. And what we want to do is go through and filter out all the bad ones and keep the ones that actually have significant impact. We don't want to over prune our features because some of them might interact in a weird way where they do matter, even though it kind of looks like they don't. So we'll still keep a good amount, but we still want to narrow that down quite a bit. So that's what we're going to do next time. And make sure you subscribe. And I'll try to get this next one out a little quicker. I know it's been like a month since I did the first one, but you know, life. So anyways, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.